Hello, everyone, and I would like to welcome all of you to another speaker series event organized by the GDC Analytics Club. I am Ritika, and I will be co hosting this session along with my colleague Siddhant Perry. We are both currently enrolled in B412 Business Analytics program and part of Analytics Club. But the Analytics Club is all about being a platform to amalgamate the experts and beginners from the field of data and business analytics. So, here is another one of our events under the speaker series. And today we have a very special and experienced guest speaker, one of my professors, in fact, Dr. J.K., who will help us to navigate about unlocking job opportunities in the Canadian banking industry, especially for international students. He is a dedicated educator and a data analytics professional with a PhD in economics, specializing in financial econometrics. With extensive experience in teaching diverse courses and a strong commitment to staying at the forefront of industry trends, J aims to create inclusive and engaging learning environments. His research has been published in esteemed journals such as Journal of Statistical and Econometrics Methods, Journal of Probability and Statistic, and industry experience includes contributing to risk modeling at renowned financial institutes, including BMO and CIBC. So, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. J.K. to take over the platform and share his knowledgeable insights with everyone.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you guys here. Very glad to be here. See Dr. Robin and see all of you guys here. So today I'm going to talk about the job opportunity in the banking industry. So start with the basic introduction. In Canada, by the way, actually we have a lot of banks, but most likely it's famous for large five. Previously it's large five. Right now it's more talk like large six. There are RBC, TD, BMO, Scotia, CIBC. Previously, this is large five. And finally, right now we have a new entered role, which is National Bank, because of its most recently aggressive, marketing and mortgage market performance approach. So most likely, these major banks take about around 60% of the marketing financial service industry in Canada. So that's why at the same time they're very large and absorb a lot of new graduates and people to work in that industry. To my personal experience, the job premium is relatively high compared with the other industry, like grocery industry or other industry. So that's why it is a very attractive place for some students to choose after they graduate. So locations, very interesting thing is that if you look at, if you look at the screen, this is the screenshot from the map. So if you look at there on the right corner, then you will see this is the location of GBC where we are having the classes. And even on the same street, King Street, here, this is the headquarters for Scotiabank, and then headquarters for BMO, and then headquarters for National Bank. So actually, the headquarters for these large banks is very close to each other. If we move to south a little bit, we can see the headquarters for TD, RBC, and recently CIBC is moving to the Twin Tower, so at the southern place. So the location is very close to each other as well. So that's why one interesting story is that before the pandemic, most of the guys, if you have a coffee break, it's very common to see the statistician or the data scientists get together from different banks to have a coffee break and have a club or something like that. So we have a very common communication because relatively speaking, we're working in the same region. That's a good news for you as well, right? You guys may be easier to do the interview from one place to the other. Although right now, most of the interview is online. And for these large banks, we provide a very large range of positions, right? So our program is called data analytics or analytical program, business analytical program. there are a lot of positions which corresponds to our program. For example, like data analytics, business analytics, financial analytics, investment analytics, risk analytics. So many positions. A data scientist also correspond to our program. So if you guys want to search these positions, on the screen on the slides, I cited all the six banks, their recruitment website. For example, let's take a look at this is RBC's website. Okay, so you guys can just, whenever you want to apply any positions in CIBC, then you guys can just search over here. So maybe previously, I don't know, some of the students mentioned to me that they have the habit to apply through some external link like LinkedIn, like Indeed. Um, yeah, so but I think if you want to get the most recent update and complete positions of all the banks, best to go to their career website. For example, if you want to apply any positions with respect to data, then just put data at the keywords. And if you don't want to move out of Canada, and you can add some of more feature over here. Want to work in Toronto? Now you have a couple of positions to consider about. Yeah, so you guys can choose something over here. Yeah, I think this is the one which maybe you guys can feel. Oh, okay. So you guys can basically search based on this standard, by the way. Um, okay. So you guys can search like this. If you guys have, for example, previous working experience in bank, you guys can also try some like financial analyst, or you might see this is the investment analyst midterm. So a lot of different positions are here. One of the advice I can, well, previously some students may say, how should they propose their resume? So one of my ideas is that if you click over here, there are job description over here, job descriptions. So, well, although right now most of the HR is doing a quite automatic process to filter your resume, but if your resume can really match with these keywords in job descriptions, that's really increased the opportunities for you to be filtered out. So always pay attention to these job descriptions and make corresponding change to your resume to match this part. So anyway, I think it's a good habit for you to read these job postings on a daily basis and look at this job description to understand more about this industry. That's one of my personal experience. Okay, so one thing interesting that for me is that if you guys, sorry, if you look at screen over here, is that different from United States. In United States, investment bank and commercial bank are two different institutions. But in Canada, our investment bank is inside the large bank operation. For example, here you can see that BMO Capital Markets is the capital bank, quote, capital bank version of BMO. So they are located in BMO as well. So this is CIBC World Market and so on and so forth. So actually, if any of the students are targeted working investment bank or in a more aggressive business environment in financial market, you guys can also target to these large banks. So lots of positions are there. And this table is the new, I got it from the magazine. It's the graduate distribution for banking industry. For example, here we have a big six. We can see that which university have the top clustering in the big five and which one is the lowest one. But by the way, this clustering is more like historically all the cumulative cumulative questionnaire survey, right? We can see Western is the first. They are even better than U of T, and we also see York is here. This is where I was graduated from, And you guys can see the mainland distribution over there. There's no denying the fact that school effect is there um, in the recruitment process, right? Um, Managers or hiring managers usually know more, have more information about the new graduate from the same school. Or if we have a colleague from that school, we have more information about that. So we feel more comfortable of getting the people from that institution if the information is there. So that's a common practice and phenomenon. We see that a lot of one school has been stagnant into one team and so on. Although we don't encourage this phenomenon, but it's there. Okay, so that's the position part. And if we want to discuss about the basic skills and qualification for applying the position, I would say divide it into these 6 parts. The lower level of the position, you can see this arrow, right? But so the lower level of the position, you just need the first few terms. But if you are targeted to a higher level position, then you may pay attention to the later ones. The first one is that we look at your education, right? That's by no means that's the easiest way for us to filter this out. And we need to have some basic communication skills. At least when someone give you some task, you can communicate this task, right? You can communicate what's your job duty, what's the necessary skill, necessary component, and so on. When you finish the job, you need to convey your result to your boss. So, and the next is numerical technology proficiency, and for our major, we have analytical skills. So basically, I think our GBC program for 12 have give us a good foundation for us to pay attention to the first 4 skills. Yeah. And the next is that if I think for the first 4 skills is for the entry level data analytics or business analytics and whatever you name it. If you target for a higher level, medium level, or advanced senior level, you also need to pay attention to details. Sometimes that is not story hiding in and reveal it out. This is very plus for your job. And finally, if you have a complex project, a problem solving skills is also a very good one. But basically, you guys can think about these skills and work more attention to these parts. One thing I hope you guys can really identify, I was also talk about this in my class, that numerical skills and coding skills are different from analytical skills. Do not think that I get certain tables, run the regressions, and then that's all my job. But actually majority of our job actually is focused on analytical stuff. You need to have a story, have a reasonable story, be critical on the fact, and realizing realizing the trend, and getting an outlier, and all of the things has been hiding inside analytical parts, not just coding and numerical. So hope you guys can identify the difference between these two. Okay, so suppose you guys an international student are target to the banking industry, then I have several facts to share. The first is over here on the screen. This is the average of duration of people who searching for a job in US market. By the way, this is US market, excuse me. So I can't find the corresponding statistic in Canada, so that's why I just changed by US instead. But on average, you guys have a fair expectation. Canadian labor market can only be more, worse, kind of worse compared with this graph. So which means that you guys can expect that right now, if you look at this graph over here, on January 2023, on average in United States, people need about 8 weeks to find your next job. But in Canada, this number could be just worse. I think it's going to be worse. I read one report before from York University. But I don't think I can review this statistic over here, but it's just not very good for new graduates, even you are from master's degree in business school. So here I just give everyone, especially for international student, a fair expectation. So if you just landed here in Canada, not here for long, maybe the Canadian labor market is not what you imagine, right? In your home country, um, here you have to have some preparation, psychological or physical or financially, that this job searching stages may be longer than you expected. And the next is that for job search, there are a couple of seasons which is very much important for you to know. One of them is January and February. That's the largest season for us to recruit new people. Um, there's one joke. This season is coming from, most of the bank give our annual bonus in January. So a lot of people, after they get this annual bonus, 10% or 20%, and then poof, gone. So that's why in January and February, that's the best season for you to look for a job. That's our rule. So other than January and February, for the rest of the season, spring and summer, unfortunately, there are not very too many positions are there. But the good news is that if you see some positions in spring and summer, I think even for now, that's right now it's October, right? If you see some positions in October, basically it means that this is a very urgent hiring. So that's a good news for us, by the way, which means that we can eliminate, make this pool a little bit shorter. Make this process a little bit shorter, and the pool is smaller. Yeah. So hopefully everyone can grasp this seasonality and know what time you should try to start to move out. And most likely, I would say you guys can start to think about your strategy about applying different positions. We here on the screen on the left, I list out 3 different plans. The first plan is that you guys can apply based on job titles and the connections. For example, if I know someone in the company, or if I very much interested in certain jobs in that banks, so you can choose to plan A. Relatively speaking, connection plus job titles can greatly eliminate all the choices you have. So, but this is more precise attack, right? So that's plan A. For plan B is that, okay, for all the positions from the big 6 or big 5, you just apply to whatever it is. So it's kind of your plan B. Your plan B is kind of broad a little bit, by the way, and you need to have a lot of applications. And your plan C is that, okay, even that's not from the top big 5, even it's not in the financial industry. If I have a job, I will just get in. So that's plan C. Different students have different strategy. There's no goods or bads. I personally, more inclined to talk about plan A and plan B a little bit because it's more concentrated. And you know what? Even you lose your first interview, but you gain more experience in talking with the managers, right? For the next interview, you can revise your behavior and change your answer a little bit to see how your behavior can make the factor change. But if you keep changing different industry, changing different profile, because your resume will very much different between grocery industry and financial industry, right? So if you just jump between different industries, I guess it doesn't help for you to increase the experience of doing the interview, right? So you guys can think about which plan you'd like to choose for. Okay, so network. I know everyone, every professor maybe talk about network in our class, in our program, right? So I try to organize this network information a little bit. And you can see this pyramid is the order that the bank is trying to hiring people. Okay, so let's start with the lower. The lower end is that most likely a lot of people just see the advertisement and feel it. But unfortunately, this action maybe is not the easiest way to get into this position. And the next thing is that um, you guys may know that sometimes BMO or other banks go to schools and then do some, employment service to city halls and say they hire people. It's common to have this, but it's not. It's again, it's not very easy to get a job in that phenomenon. And starting from the third layer, I think right now the odds get higher now. The first is that previously maybe you apply and interview for several positions, but your boss just choose the other ones and keep your profile into the system, and a few days later or a few times later, they find that there's new position available and notify if you are interested into that. So this is this is a good news, by the way. So that's gonna have a higher opportunity for you to get in. And then career fires, we have a very targeted career fires in the banks. So if you can build your network over there, attend the career fair regularly, know the HR over here, build a connection. I think that's easier stuff and good news for us, for you. And let's keep a little bit higher layer is that if you have an internship to our bank, um, or you have any internal referrals, personal connections within the bank, that's even a good plus. And the higher position inside our bank, the better. Yeah. Um, the highest the ranking stage when we take if I have a spot to fill is if there's any internal candidate over here. So which means you jump from BMO from position A to position B. So that's the easiest one. By the way, previously I see one of my friends apply many positions and get depressed because he said, "Oh, I applied so many things, but there's no reply." But when I opened the positions my friends applied to, I find that most of them is just open to internal candidates. I mean, we can see it. So a lot of them actually has been filled by internal already. Okay, so that's why if you guys are thinking about expanding your network, several things you may consider about your, for example, alumni, friends, families, professional associations, I think including our analytical club, right? Professors, new contacts, students, classmates, career consultants, and employers, and so on. So, but actually, I know for international students, it's very difficult to open your world at the first place, right? But anyway, let's face the reality. So maybe we need to open a little bit and try to find where is our network and try to do that step by step, right? But actually, I don't have a solution as well. I mean, I don't have a 100% workable solution for everyone. That's difficult. Okay, so the next thing is that the typical interview process. You can see on the screen, this is roughly the process in our BMO. It's roughly looking like this. For typical position, we receive about 200 resume, but I think this is the real reality can be just worse. Last time when our team have a position, we receive about 700 resumes, 700 within 10 days, 700. So the next step is that the HR is going to filter only 20 of them and start to do a phone screens. Yeah, that's we usually call it the first round of interview. Well, it's also called, sorry, it's called as interview, but it's not technically not an interview because I think most of the HR just match whether the description in your resume with your speaking. See if your reality speaking and talking can be matched with your resume. So it's kind of a match process rather than an interview process. And um, so the HR gonna provide us the next step about 20 about 15 different candidates to us. So this is our first round of interview. For first round of interview, my experience is that you can brag yourself a little bit. So for example, if HR asks you, do you know SaaS? If you know a little bit, you just say, no, I understand SaaS a lot. Because for HR, he doesn't have too much technical background, actually, right? Some of the HR even don't know what is SaaS, what is Python. I mean, they never used that before. So you can, you know, make the information exaggerate a little bit. Sometimes it can help you to get the position, but do not over exaggeration. All right. The second round is interview is just talking with the hiring manager. Most likely it's gonna be 1 hour. During that 1 hour, we will ask a lot of your past working experience, project experience, your coding skills, your working experience so far. That's the most important thing you need to seriously face. I don't want to say this is an exam process, right? Exam process means we have a right, wrong solution and see if you can answer them correct. But most of the this interview process, there's no wrong, but we just see how you respond to our question in a professional way, right? Um, so it's kind of I would say in this way, for hiring managers, most of the hiring manager has been working in this industry for more than 10 years. Most of them are senior manager, right? So they have been, or director, they have been in industry for more than 10 years. And you guys just working in this industry for, I think, less than 3 years, right? So it's almost impossible for you to cheat a little bit, right? I mean, cheat means that you don't know that, you don't have that experience, but you just search a couple of keywords from the website and you want to say this is your experience. It's not it's not very easy for you to get rid of this interview by doing that. So what I would recommend is that for the second round of interview, just be very humbly state the fact. Something you know, something you don't know. What is your experience? But if you don't know, but you can learn, show that you are tentative to learn new skills, are eager to communicate with others in a positive attitude. So if you don't know, just say don't know. Don't pretend you know or try to mislead the people. It's very difficult, to be honest. So this is the second round of interview. I think most of our uh, George Brown's course, if they can help you a little bit, will be focused on the second round of the interview. That's more over there. And if you can pass the second round, congratulations, then you go to the last round. Oh, by the way, here the definition is a little bit different. Actually, our last round is phone is the first round, hire manager the second round, and here is the last round. Most of the last round, we only choose 2 to 3 candidates and report to VP, SVP, senior president, vice senior president, this level. For them, only choose 2 to 3 different candidates to talk to them. The last interview will be more focused on your personalities. If you are good to stay with, work with, if you face very stressed situation, then what's your response? How much do you understand this industry overall? So it's very like personality talk. It's not very stressful at all. So it just see how much you understand the overall process. I still remember when I was you know newbies, I was doing the third round. The question my boss asked for me is that at that time it's still pandemic, right? He said that during the pandemic, a lot of business are losing the money, but our bank is making a considerable positive profit. Why do you think this is the case? But the position I was trying to apply for is just a quantitative analyst, right? So I would so so I was just brainstorm a little bit, try to answer something. I'm not quite sure, but right now I understand how this question is coming from. I think the senior positions, I mean the leaders is trying to understand how much do you pay attention to this industry, this economics overall. How do you understand this context, right? Rather than technical stuff, right? But overall, we have this 3 round of interview, so it's 700 to 20 to after hiring manager interview, we just provide three. Hiring manager will usually interview 5 people, 5 to 7 people around this. So that's a very sharp decrease. If you go to this page, this is the key job you need to pay attention. As I said, the first round is for HR. We just talk about your resume, matching your job postings, right? So this is your first round. The second round is talking to your hiring manager. We look at your skills, your experience. By the way, when I say experience, it's not working experience. It's more, it's for international students, it's more like project experience. What kinds of projects have been working for in the past and how those experience can be related to the current job. I think most of the people, most of the team, when they have an open position, they have their targeted project at hand, which means that once you get in this position, you may work right away on this part. So if you can understand and get some information about those projects and share what's your view about this work and your insight, that will be the best. And the last interview will be your personality, team structure, and consideration, right? I think that's it. I try to talk about some of the general information I know from the banking industry. But to be honest, I think Robin may have better position to give you this idea. He have a much longer working experience than mine. Again, I'm very happy to be here to share my experience, no matter it's more personal or actually that's a more broader rule. But I hope those advice and fact can help you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. That was really quite insightful, and definitely learned a lot about the industry. And I'd like to learn a bit more through. I just have a few questions, and if someone else to relay the questions right now to Professor, so put them in the chat. Okay, so I guess I'll do. So, as an international student, when you came here, I believe it was back in 2009, right?
Yeah,
So,
I first came at 2010, 2010.
you
Okay.
came, so am I correct in assuming you came in as an international student?
Yes, yes, for sure. I can't even speak a whole English sentence by then. Yeah, I still remember when I landed in the international airport. I want to say where I can take a taxi, and I keep saying where I can take the tax. So international students.
So, apart from that, what else you do, get involved more in the Canadian culture and the Canadian workspace?
You mean experience or
Like, no, just
meeting?
basically, if as you made in college or during your course came across a lot of people, so how did you learn more about the Canadian culture?
Oh, okay. That's a difficult question. Um, well, I don't have a very clear solution in my mind, but I think everything is just going step by step, right? Uh, just know more through your colleagues, through the professional association you have, right? I start to look at some of the Canadian statistic paper, and then look at some Canadian numbers like unemployment, inflation, and GDP growth rate, right? So these stuff, and then step by step understand the context. For example, I look at, because we are all data analytics, so I tend to look at several figures like the racial distribution. So when I was here at the first hand, I think that Chinese take about 7% of the overall GTA population, and right now I think it's 9%. So it's I kind of looking at those figures and understand Canadian a little bit better, right? So during the summer, when I moved to some place for a cottage, I look at, okay, what's the population over there? What's the income distribution? What kinds of demographic characteristic people are living over here? So just doing those stuff step by step by looking at the data and then understand the fact more. But again, I think it differs from one person to the other.
Very true. So Somya had a question. Just you mentioned we should talk about the process we know of during second interview. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think yeah, interview is a two-way interview, by the way. You don't think that interview always be the bank is giving you the question, so you answer the question just like the exam, right? I think it's wise and very good option is that during the first interview, you're gonna ask your HR, hey, I know there's a position. What's that position for? Is it for any specific project or any targeted if you want to hire this new person, right? So if HR can share you some of the insight, that will be the best. You can prepare something for your second interview. But even this is your second interview, most of the time, the bank will give you the opportunity to ask their questions. I think that's a very good option for you to ask, hey, why do you consider this? Okay, why do you want to hire a new person for this? Is this for accounting, new additional counts? By the way, new additional counts means that this team is supposed to be 5 persons, but right now we want to include into 6. You are the additional one. There must be some reason for that because our bank is very conservative. Adding 1 person is very difficult, except there must be a very clear target for this new additional person to do, right? So try to ask them, what's this new head account for any project? And when they describe this project, try to quickly link that project to your previous experience. Build a connection, say, hey, I have previous experience in doing that before, so I think I match this project. Or what insight you can provide for this project. And the third way is that actually you don't need to consider this option at all. Some of the interview can be very direct and say that, hey, my next project is, for example, previously one of my team, I have most of our risks in one team, is talking about we want to build a new system in South America. We have a system in United States, but we want to build a very similar system in South America to rate our customer, give the credit rating to the customer. This is just one big project. So can you help us doing this? Then you need to really very quick-minded to think about, okay, which means that you have a reference in Canada and you want to migrate into United States. So first, you need to consider about your coding skills. And second, understand the culture of South America. And third, if you can independently, without too many supervision, finish that and everything. So you need to really quick-minded to think about the connection. You can finish those projects.
Perfect. And monthly question. So, are there any particular kinds of certificates that we can acquire online that will give us a competitive edge over other applicants?
Oh, okay. To be honest, the fact what I know is that we look at experience much more than certificate. Okay, so I always talk to my friends like this. So if you graduate from U of T, okay, that's a big plus. But if under the same circumstance, the experience is much more than education. Yeah. So if you have working experience in our big five in the previous years, similar project, that would be much more useful than a PhD degree or SAS advanced user or Python advanced user. That's yeah. So experience matters.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Professor. That I think that gave us a lot of insight into the industry and how we can ace our interviews going forward from here as students. Thank you so much, Professor Jay and Professor Robin. And thank you everyone else for joining. And we'll see you in the next session.